not sexy.
I can be sexy.
You know what would be super duper sexy? If you lost all the clothes.
Huh?
I'm sick of sleeping with these insipid Manhattan debutantes. Nothing shocks them anymore.
But you can relax. I have a mission for you. What I Plan to Wait by Annette Hargrove.
Paradigm of chastity and virtue.
Introduce her to your world of sex, drugs, and what else do you do? She's young, supple.
She'll be my greatest victory.
You don't stand a chance.
Care to make a wager on that?
If I win, then that hot little car of yours, mine.
And if I win?
I'll give you something you've been obsessing about ever since our parents got married. Happy hunting, Sebastian.
Welcome to the show, everybody.
Welcome back.
Welcome back from the break, you guys. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay.
Yay! Boys and girls, you're in for a very special treat today.
We've dug through the archives.
Yes, we did.
And we found the very first time Pete and I were on mic together for the show.
Yes, indeed. Some call it the lost episode. We call it the pilot. It was our first try at this. It was a kind of a test run, a dry run, if you will, just to see how long we could sit down and talk about one movie.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I had some notes in front of me, but a lot of it was kind of winged.
Yes. It was definitely seat of our pants, very raw, very untested. But at the end of the day, after we finished it and put it down and listened back,
I think it's pretty solid.
Yeah,
I mean, I listened
agree.
to it last week on a walk that I was taking. I just kind of just put it on just to see. I'm just going to listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
Pretty solid.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I think we did a pretty good job right out of the gate.
Indeed.
To kind of give ourselves a pat on the back.
Indeed. And since we're on a break from our regularly scheduled programming, we decided to put out an extra episode so that all of our fans out there, all of our listeners won't be wanting for more. So we decided to put this out for you, for your listening pleasure, so you could have a little bit while we start recording some new stuff, get ready for a new season.
I've been booking guests for the show.
Yes, indeed. We are working
We're going to start
hard.
recording soon.
Yes, indeed. So everybody sit back, listen to Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions.
Recorded all the way back in, when, Scott?
March of 2019. Can you believe that?
I mean,
and also I love that we're living this AMC A-list life, that we went to the movie theater for this.
We did. We saw it in the theater.
For a 20-year-old movie.
Yes, indeed. But it spawned a really good drop that I haven't used that often in any of the shows, but I'm going to bring it back.
I want to fuck.
I'm definitely going to be using that a lot more often, and that's all thanks to this movie, Cruel Intentions. So are we ready for the show?
I'm ready.
All right, I think I'm ready too. Everybody, let's get in the Wayback Machine while we take a trip back to Cruel Intentions. Bye.
Cruel Intentions, released 20 years ago, 1999.
Yeah.
Released March 5th, 1999. And yeah, I won't give too big of a plot synopsis because that very informative trailer gave the brief sketch of the plot, and many of you might be familiar with the movie Cruel Intentions. It stars Ryan Phillippe, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Reese Witherspoon, Selma Blair, and definitely was the end of the 90s, saw a lot of teen movies, and this was probably one of the more racier teen movies that came out around that time. It's directed by Roger Crumble, and
Not Crumble.
It is adapted from the 1796 novel Dangerous Liaisons, and it's kind of a fresh take on that old story of sex, lies, and deceit, all revolving around these rich kids that live in New York penthouses.
Sure. And I feel like watching it last night, there's a lot of teen movies in the late 90s, early 2000s that were like, oh, this is an adaptation of Shakespeare. This is an adaptation of, like, Emma and all. But those movies, they were very loosely adapted. This was really a close adaptation to Dangerous Liaisons.
It's a pretty close adaptation. It's been a while since I've seen the 1988 movie with Glenn Close and John Malkovich, but it hits all of the main character beats, and all of the main characters of that story are in the movie too.
Yeah, totally. This movie had some major faggotry going on.
Oh yeah,
in it. I mean, it's definitely a straight story, but there's a lot of stuff in there for young, gay, blossoming children to latch on to. There's like the awesomeness of just Sarah Michelle Gellar's super like cunty character. There's Ryan Phillippe's bare ass. There's Joshua Jackson, Pacey from Dawson's Creek.
Yeah,
just hamming it up. Just oh boy. There was some interviews recently with the cast because it's just been 20 years, and Joshua Jackson said something about how he really wanted to make this character real, and like he just happens to be gay.
We have a lot to say about that. We'll save that until later when we get to that scene.
Till we get to that scene.
But yeah, I mean, what's interesting about this movie, and you can't really say about a lot of teen movies that come out today, this was definitely the movie that, well, at least with me, because I'm a little younger than you, this came out when I was in the 8th grade. So this was the movie that you had to hide from your parents.
You had no business
watching this movie. And that was kind of the brilliance of the marketing from its producer, Neil M. Moritz, was that they wanted to do a sex movie for teenagers.
Sure.
And that's a pretty ballsy move from a major studio.
Well, and the other thing is, you don't see them until the very last scene of the movie in uniform for this private school that they're in. And the entire time, Sarah Michelle Gellar is wearing these, like, Dynasty by way of, like, En Vogue, like, outfits.
There's a lot of bustiers and lingerie.
Yes. There are titties pushed up to her chin. She's wearing corsets. She's wearing, gauzy, see-through, like, gown robes.
And I suppose that's part of the fun of adapting that book that takes place in high society and a pre-revolutionary France, was that they were able to kind of have fun with that wardrobe. It's not really anything teenagers would wear.
No.
But it's sort of a little nod to that material.
Sure.
That you can make them not really dress like your normal 17-year-olds.
Sure.
You can kind of elevate it a little bit.
I mean, Ryan Phillippe was just running around in suits. And Reese Witherspoon was running around in, like, pastels. She looked like she was the assistant manager at the Gap.
I bet that costume designer was so proud of herself and how she contrasted Annette's character with very light colors with Sebastian's character of very dark blues.
Annette
blacks.
Dressed like she worked in a mall. I mean, she wore khakis.
She was just off her shift at the Banana Republic.
Yeah. She was wearing the same outfit that Janine Garofalo wore to work in
very, very wrong about it.
Yeah, he really is taking advantage of her. She's like molesting this poor girl with the, mental capacity of like an 8-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So that's disturbing.
As he like liquors her up, gives her some like Long Island iced teas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's drinking a Long Island iced tea, and she goes, "This doesn't taste like iced tea." Really, bitch? There's 3 kinds of alcohol in that. You were just like, "Oh, wow, this iced tea is like making me feel funny." Come on. That's a stretch right there. I'm sorry. So it starts off right away with Sarah Michelle Gellar grooming this character, and we find out why. It's because Sarah Michelle Gellar was dumped by this guy at the beginning of the summer because he wants to start dating Selma Blair. Rather than their whole thing is they like to ruin people, they like to ruin reputations.
They like to be cast out of New York society.
Yeah. So rather than ruin the guy, she's going for the girl the guy likes, so then he'll have a bad reputation.
Yeah, that was a little thin.
That's a little muddy. But it starts off with her and Selma Blair's character's mother, who's played by Christine Baranski, and just
Christine Baranski.
Oh, yeah,
I think she knocks this small role out of the park.
She does. It's a small role, but she's doing what she does well. She's in her wheelhouse. She's just wearing Chanel suits, finely tailored Chanel suits, and she's got her sensible Christine Baranski haircut.
And every line has that Christine Baranski line delivery.
Yes. I've got a little bit of that right here. We can listen up.
What are the boys like?
Ow! Cecile. Is that all you can think of? You must forgive her, Catherine. She's never been in a coeducational atmosphere before.
Oh, it's perfectly understandable. Most of the boys that matriculate at Manchester are very upstanding gentlemen. However, there are the occasional few bad apples.
Like your stepbrother, Sebastian. I can't believe they didn't expel him after what he did to the school nurse.
I hear she's recovering quite well. Nice to see you again, Mrs. Caldwell.
You remember my daughter, Cecile?
My, what an adorable shirt you're wearing.
Thanks, my father took me on a trip to Australia.
How are things down under? Blossoming, I hope.
Sebastian!
Well, I think we'll be going now. Thank you so much for your help.
Cecile, I'll call you and we can plan your curriculum.
Okay, thanks. It was nice meeting you.
Mwah! Ciao.
Let's go, Cecile, now. Keep your legs together. This isn't Jamaica.
Yeah, as you can see from that clip there, or as you can hear, the dialogue is a little affected, but I think that's part of the characters, them just playing these like super affected, using this very flowery language with each other.
And this was also the time of Dawson's Creek, and just sort of writing dialogue that no 17-year-olds are ever saying.
Sure, but I think in this movie it's a little different. In Dawson's Creek, they're just trying to. I feel like that was just Kevin Williamson indulging himself and sounding like, well, look how smart I am. These characters aren't intended to sound smart. They're intended to sound like aristocratic and like more adult than they are.
Well, also, there's the character that is Catherine, because she has two different sides of her. She has the Catherine that she presents to
This
the
is
world.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sarah Michelle Gellar. There's the character that she's like putting on this front for, and then there's the person, the mean, cold-hearted bitch slut that she actually is.
Sure.
And she always has to balance between those two.
I think some of the best, I laughed really hard a couple of times, and it was each time Sarah Michelle Gellar would leave a room after talking to Cecile, the Selma Blair character, she would turn around and just under her breath just go, moron.
You fucking idiot.
One time she said moron, and one time she said fucking idiot. And I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God, I love it.
She looks like she's having a lot of fun with this character, too.
Yeah, she does. There's some really great dialogue, mostly from SMG. She looks great. This was at the height of, well, not at the height of Buffy, early Buffy.
This was probably, she was in between probably season 2 and 3. She
had
sort of has the
dark
season
hair.
3 haircut, Well, she's never dark on Buffy, but they dyed her hair brown probably in between 2 and 3.
I'm just staring at that nose on the big screen. I'm just like, that SMG nose.
She never got it fixed, too.
It's just like...
She's like Barbara.
But it looks fixed.
I don't think
so. It looks
she's
fake
always
to
had
me.
That nose.
No, I know, but it looks like a fake nose. It's interesting. And she's wearing the brownest of the brown lipsticks.
A lot of earth tones
in this
on her.
movie. Yeah. I think one of her best looks is probably the Central Park kissing scene, the iconic.
Oh, the Breakfast at Tiffany's hat?
She's wearing a Breakfast at Tiffany's hat, giant sunglasses, and but like a business suit.
Yes.
She's not wearing like a dress.
I think
like a business
later
suit.
in the movie, if we're talking about the Catherine looks, I like that that black dress that she's wearing. It's like
she wears a lot of black dresses.
It's a simple black dress with long sleeves.
What scene is it in?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, well. There's a lot of really good Sarah Michelle Gellar moments. There's a lot of good visual moments with her. There's a lot of good like bitchy, cunty moments. And yeah, there is an iconic girl-on-girl kissing scene that takes place in Central Park. That was so talked about at the time.
It was so talked about. Are you talking about the MTV Movie Award?
Yeah,
best kiss scene,
winning, right?
Yeah.
They won the MTV Movie Award for best kiss. So stupid.
Yeah,
the MTV Movie Awards for best. Oh God, it was parodied famously in Not Another Teen Movie. That's another little bit of like of some gay ass action that's taken place in this movie that a lot of little kids were able to latch onto, even in this very straight story. But yes, I can't get over the dialogue in this movie though.
Yeah.
There were some really great scenes, really great lines. Immediately after we meet Selma Blair, we get right into the main bet of the movie.
And she takes a giant snort of cocaine out of her cross, which is very iconic.
Yeah, and the thing is, I kind of remember the character of Catherine being more of a cokehead, but you only really see her do it at the beginning and the end of the movie. But yeah, she carries around this crucifix, this cross around her neck on this like Run DMC chain. It's so huge. We're to believe that she wears this giant like piece of junk jewelry around her neck with this cross in it.
Because whenever she's alone, she turns to God.
Oh yeah,
and that helps her through it.
But inside the cross is a little Coke spoon. You guys, look. I mean, how ironic is that?
There's nothing obvious about the subtext behind that.
No, yeah. So we have her little Coke spoon on the Run DMC chain. We get into the main bet of the movie, which is Ryan Phillippe's character pulls out a 17 magazine with who on the cover?
Oh, Jennifer Love Hewitt.
None other than Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Who I'm sure
that
was considered or maybe read for the role of Catherine, too.
Oh, she could never play Catherine. She is no Catherine.
And they had just made the movie together.
What movie?
I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That came out before this?
Came out a year or so before it, and it was produced by Neil M. Moritz.
There you go. So all three of them
the movie.
were co-stars in that movie. They gave her a little wink and a nod in this movie. It's a 17 magazine that we open up, and there is an article, kind of an opinion piece, or an editorial written by Annette, which is Reese Witherspoon's character.
Why I Plan to Wait by Annette Hargrove from Kansas City, Kansas.
A Virgin's Manifesto.
Oh, like a manifesto, like it's a communist manifesto with a bunch of like nonsense scribbled on there, like an actual manifesto.
A Virgin's Manifesto. So somehow the Annette character has enough influence to get this essay into 17 magazine.
And we should also mention that Annette's father is going to be the headmaster at the prep school.
Yes, the next
Sebastian and Catherine are about to attend.
Sure, when school starts again in the fall, they got a new headmaster, and she's the daughter. So maybe that she has some society pull. She's the father of the headmaster of a prestigious Manhattan prep school, so she has a little bit of society pull to get herself into 17 magazine. So he reads this article and decides she's a virgin. She has this whole manifesto about it, and he decides that he's going to take her virginity, essentially. He's going to find out where she is. Or he found out where she is. She's moving to New York. She's going to be here in this all summer long. And
she's staying with his aunt?
With Ryan Phillippe's character's aunt, yes. Okay, we've got this giant estate somewhere. He says the island. She's staying on the island. I don't know what that means.
Isn't it kind of Long Island? Aren't those... Isn't there these
Martha's Vineyard,
huge
maybe?
mansions in Long Island?
Sure.
Yeah,
who knows?
I think there is.
I'm not from there. I live in L.A. I'm assuming the island means, something in Martha's Vineyard, that vicinity. She's over by the Barefoot Contessa. But yeah, we're in this giant mansion. He goes out there. He's got this
I have some thoughts to say about the bet.
Sure, what do you got?
So the bet famously is he gets to fuck Sarah Michelle Gellar if he wins. Because, I mean, I guess that's just how they roll. But she gets his car.
Sure.
Isn't that kind of a... I mean, shouldn't he be asking for a little more?
Well, that we are to believe that a fuck from Catherine is equal in value to a 1950 whatever.
It's a Jaguar.
I thought it was a Porsche.
No, it's a Jaguar.
A Jaguar Roadster.
But I'm just thinking, like, wow, shouldn't you be kind of, like, shooting a little higher in this bet? I mean...
Well, that's why. He was kind of like, what?
Yeah.
But I think the thing was, A, he's so confident that he's going to win the bet. But B, I think Catherine is just like, this puss is worth that car. So, yeah, and they're step-siblings. It's still supposed to be scandalous. You know, we're still supposed to be scandalized that that's, like, the bet. And the way they interact with each other, it's very, like, sexual. They don't do anything. They don't have sex, they don't kiss, but it's very, like, physical and sexual and gross. But, yeah, I think we're just supposed to equate, you know, the value of the car with the value of their physical love. But, yeah, this car, I'm telling you, it's hashtag too much.
And I love when he pulls up to their townhouse, he parks it into a red zone.
Yeah.
And he just... flicks off like the meter guy.
He waves out. It's a cop, and there's a cop there, and the cop's like, "You can't park here because it's in a red zone right in front of the building." And as he's walking away, back turned to the cop, he just waves his hand like, "Fuck off, get out of here." So are they
going to tow that Jag?
I'm just like, tow the car.
Yeah.
If you're a cop,
I like to see a cut scene where he has to go to like New Jersey to get his car out of impound.
Out of the impound lot, yeah, just like takes a wad of cash. He wouldn't care. They'd send Mei Ling to do it. Just send her with a wad of cash, get the car out. They've got money to spare. Well, Annette does not give two shits about Sebastian at first.
And we should also mention that Sebastian's aunt is played by Academy Award winner Louise Fletcher, who just says, I mean,
she doesn't have a lot of lines.
She doesn't have a lot to do in this movie.
She's on a horse,
and that kind of goes to show sometimes when you're an Academy Award winning actress of a certain age, you just got to play somebody's aunt sometimes.
But it wasn't even of a certain... I mean, maybe she was a certain age when she won the award because she didn't really work a lot after that. It's not like you remember her from all these stellar performances.
She did like The Exorcist too.
Dropped off the map. She never really did a lot even after Cuckoo's Nest. But she's in this movie. She's the aunt character who lives in this house alone, apparently.
Yeah.
The staff, you just see a few rooms of the house, but the house is huge.
It looks like Jack Nicholson's house from The Witches of Eastwick.
It's like seriously like Godfather, like ridiculously huge. It's like where Whitney Houston lived in The Bodyguard. But you never see anyone there. They're on horseback at one point. They have a picnic at another point. But Reese Witherspoon, I feel like as a teenager, she just gets dropped here in this house with a bedroom with like there's no television. There's nothing to do in this house.
Just reading in the yard.
Just reading on the grass, wandering around. It's so odd. But, we're not supposed to care about that. We're just supposed to care that she is this pious virgin and she's actually turning away Sebastian, which nobody ever
Yes,
does.
and Sebastian tries to sort of hit on her and pick her up, and she is not having any of it.
Oh, but you know why? It's because she got that letter.
Yes, she got...
Did we ever find out who wrote the letter? Is it?
Yeah, it was...
Is it him?
It was Christine Baranski's character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Well, she gets this letter, and she's like, "No, I've heard about you. Like, I'm staying away from you." And he's like, what the fuck? How did you hear about me? She's like, "Oh, I know
maybe
someone."
I'm just a fucking asshole, and word gets around too.
All the way to Kansas?
Sure, why not?
You know that one boy in New York. He's terrible. So why does Ryan Phillippe go to Pacey to figure it out?
So I think well, he's just over at Pacey's house.
He's just complaining to him about
and
it?
he's just complaining to him about it, and Pacey's like, "Oh, I'm fuck buddies with a friend of hers that
Sure.
lives in Kansas City."
And, okay, so Pacey's character is gay, and Ryan Phillippe is not supposed to care about it, but they say faggot a lot in this movie.
Which you have to give the movie credit, because there was not a lot of gay characters in teen movies at the time. You didn't see a lot. So, I mean, this is one big out characters that I can think about in movies at the time.
Yeah. He plays it a little faggy, but you can judge for yourself. Here you go.
Kansas. Who the hell do I know in Kansas?
Greg McConnell.
The football stud?
Mm-hmm. He's from Kansas City. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a rat.
It would make sense. McConnell hates me. I fingered his girlfriend at homecoming last year.
I don't think that bothered him so much.
What do you mean?
Well, let's just say that Greg likes to tackle the tight ends on and off the field.
Oh, are you shitting me?
I shit you not. He used to sneak into my dorm room drunk every month. We'd go at it for a little while, and then as soon as he'd come, he'd start freaking out. "Oh, what are you doing, man? I'm not a fag. If you tell anybody, I'm gonna kick your ass." The only reason I let him keep up the charade is because the man's got a mouth like a Hoover. Ooh.
Mouth like a Hoover.
And he kind of talks normal when he's talking to Sebastian, but then when he gets on the phone with the Eric Mabius character, he turns super effeminate.
Oh, yeah.
Too.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, I mean, there are some steps in the right direction, but there are also a couple of steps backwards. But, I mean, hey, it was some kind of representation in 1997, did we say? 1999.
99.
Because it's 20 years, yeah. Some kind of representation on screen, so something for us to latch on to. He also dyed his hair platinum blonde. He bleached out his hair, Pacey, for this role.
I mean,
I think it was for this.
Think so?
Yeah, what else would it be
Urban
for?
Legend came out the year before, and his hair is bleached in that movie.
Yeah, but I think it's just because they bleached it, so he was just like, I'm not dyeing it again.
Yeah.
I think at that time, I mean, guys like bleaching out their hair was in fashion, but I think it was his character choice for this movie in particular. And then he just kept it because it was like very MTV. Speaking of hair, Ryan Phillippe kind of looks like before every scene that he's just like sticks his head under the sink.
Yeah.
Why? Ryan Phillippe has curly hair. He has naturally curly hair. Whatever, that's fine. But it's like there's gel or mousse or something because his hair looks so wet in every scene of this movie. And it doesn't look curly. It just looks like pointy and weird. His hair is a very weird texture, and I just could not stop staring at it the entire time. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah, where are we now in the movie?
They set up the whole blackmail scene where Pacey is going to be hooking up with Eric Mabius.
Oh yeah,
and then there's like a
so that's another thing. Okay, so they go to like set up this guy, the guy who they think told Annette to stay away from Sebastian, right? And Ryan Phillippe's whole plan is, I'm going to out you, and it's going to ruin not only your reputation, but your parents. So those are the steps back.
Right? And also, this gay man is just going along with this. Like,
yeah, well, Pacey's
his
just
character
like,
isn't just like, well, fuck that.
Yeah. No.
Like out somebody and then blackmail them for being gay?
Well, he's part of Sebastian's like inner circle, so
Yeah.
that's the kind of stuff that he does. But that's also showing the like treacherous nature of his character, as well as like the super like pussy elements of like Eric Mabius. That's just like, no, you can't out me because that would ruin my parents' lives. It's
I also just
odd.
remembered the scene that we skipped over, which is the famous Ryan Phillippe buns scene.
Oh yeah, we do see the buns.
Yep, because he goes over to the mansion pool.
Mm-hmm.
And
The indoor pool.
And he convinces Annette to take a swim with her.
Sure.
And she walks in on him naked.
You see him from behind.
I definitely rewound that scene a lot
That fat ass.
as a 16-year-old.
So you did have this on VHS.
I did have this on VHS.
I did not. I never purchased this movie. I did see it in the theater. I can't remember who I saw it with because it was 20 years ago. But I did see it in the theater with some friends. But yeah, I never purchased it. I was never like, I've got to watch that movie over and over again. I remember seeing it on cable when it would get re-aired.
Well, the whole scene with Eric Mabius being blackmailed, he essentially finds out that he didn't write the letter.
Sure.
But he convinces him just to put in a good word with Annette. And say he's actually a really good guy.
Because they are friends with each other. The Eric Mabius character and Reese Witherspoon's character are friends. So he's like, okay, maybe you didn't write the letter, but I will still out you unless you lie to her and tell her that I'm really cool and really nice and that she should try to fuck me. So we do get a couple of scenes there where we establish their friendship. And he's like, oh, no, yeah, he's a really great guy. He's got a bad reputation, but I don't know why, because he's so cool.
Okay, and then I have we have to go into Cecile's music teacher.
Sure.
Because that's another subplot of the movie.
Yes. Now Cecile is taking cello lessons, again, because she is a 8-year-old, and she's getting cello lessons. And she's very up close and personal with her cello teacher, who's not quite taking advantage of her. They have a mutual, interest in each other. Mm-hmm. He likes her, and
he's black.
And he's black, which is controversy. It's a New York society, and it's 1999.
That could ruin you.
Yeah. So, but Catherine walks in on them during a lesson and sees them a little too close. So that's when she's like, okay, she gets an idea in her head about how to ruin Cecile with this information.
But we should probably talk about the whole scene where she gets seduced by Sebastian. And I suppose that, like, what's the end game of this seduction? Just to make her a whore? That
she wants Cecile to be sexually active so that she is more willing and able to initiate an actual relationship with the cello teacher. She doesn't want Cecile to chicken out on the cello teacher. She wants her to be like, I'm a grown woman who's fucked before.
Helping her to get there.
Yes. So she's like, you need to go and give her a sexual awakening so she's down for the D and ready for cello teacher.
Which that scene is definitely something in 2019 in this post-Me Too movement that would never fly.
Yeah, of course not. Because,
days.
He's fully just taking advantage of her for, like, other means. And this... Okay, so Cecile gets in trouble with her parents. She flees to Ryan Phillippe and Sarah Michelle Gellar's house. Ryan Phillippe intercepts her and is like, okay, well, now that you're here, we're gonna do this thing before you leave. And I said, Selma Blair is playing this character as if she were a child. So Ryan Phillippe trying to seduce her is so gross.
Super weird.
It's so gross and weird because he's like, oh, yeah, take your panties off. And she's just like, oh, that's weird. I can stand on my head. And you're like, what? And she's just like, ew, blowjob's gross. And you're just, what? And he's like, all right, now I'm going to, like, eat you out. And she's just like, weird. And then he
Sounds like a
put
real
my
boner
finger in my
killer
mouth.
to me.
Yeah, it's so sick. And then the next day, I'll give you a little glimpse of that character, because the next day she is essentially telling Sarah Michelle Gellar what happened. She's like, I have to tell you something. Your brother took advantage of me.
This clip is out of control.
Yeah.
He went down on you.
That's what you call it.
Well, did you like it?
No.
No.
Well, I don't know. It was weird. And at first it felt icky, and then it was sort of okay. And then I started getting really hot, and then I started shaking. And then it just, I don't know, it was weird. It just felt like an explosion. But a good one.
Cecile, you had an orgasm.
I did.
You're becoming a woman. I'm so proud of you.
I am? Cecile!
It was so icky.
That music.
What?
That music under the scene.
Yeah. I mean, this movie is too much. It's super entertaining to watch.
It goes down real easy.
Yeah, it's super entertaining to watch. I did find myself thinking towards the end of the movie, I was like, all right, let's wrap this up. When's he going to get hit by the car?
Yeah. the whole falling in love and breakup scene of Reese and Ryan is kind of is the most boring part of the movie.
Yeah. Okay, so there's another thing. So now Sebastian, Ryan Phillippe, Sebastian is like, he's trying to seduce Annette. Annette's not falling for it. He keeps going out with her on these, like, daytime dates. They go do this, like, charity, volunteering thing. And, he's trying to break her down to, like, do it. And she's just like, she's a smart character. She's the most grounded in reality.
She's a little shrill, but I think Reese is a good actress that she doesn't quite play her that way.
Yeah.
Too. It probably reads shrill on the page, and then I think that she sort of, like, lightens her up a little bit.
Yeah.
Because Reese is very charming.
So I feel like she's the most grounded character, and so what is happening is that she's actually kind of falling for him, like really falling for him. And so there are a couple of scenes where he's like playing it off like, okay, this is real and I just want to bone you, but it's because I love you. And it's like, wait a minute, is he still playing her or is this real? It's a little too late where in the movie where he kind of expresses to the audience
they make
that,
him have the
I'm actually falling for her.
They make him have the arc super quick in his character.
Yeah, and so I didn't understand if he was being truthful with her or if he was still playing it so that he could get her into bed. And it wasn't until later that he kind of expresses like, oh no, this is real, that I'm just like, oh, okay, I didn't get that, because I kind of felt like you were still putting her on for, just to get in there and bone her. So that was weird. But then he really does fall in love with her. And now, there's this whole scene where she's like, all right, let's do it. Let's bone down. And he stops her and he's like, no, I can't do it, and leaves. But at that point I was like, really? All that? Virgin's Manifesto? And she's known him for like a week and she's like, all right, let's go to town.
Yeah, she lets her guard down super easy.
I think she lets him in a little too quick for that character.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see it in Reese Witherspoon's face. I think her performance is like, okay, I don't know if I should be doing this, but I like this guy. But it's like, wow, you're really throwing everything out the window for this dude. And it's like, I know Ryan Phillippe's hot and everything, but he's kind of a dirtbag.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing, is that even if he wasn't hit by the car and dies,
yeah,
he's still just kind of a dirtbag. I mean, there is that whole opening scene where he posts pictures of Tara Reid online. It's like,
yeah,
she's gonna find out about that.
Yeah.
And are you just gonna forgive him?
Like all the things that he did leading up to this point, he's like played all these girls. He at the very beginning of the movie, we find out that he posts I mean, I'm assuming there's more pictures because the picture that got posted is not that bad.
Well, because there's the whole thing of
He
that
posts-
he's a photographer,
Oh,
and it's like,
God.
oh, you could be a model.
He posts pictures of this girl on the internet in compromising position. The girl is his therapist's daughter.
Who's played by Tara Reid.
He's played by Tara Reid. The therapist is played by Swoosie Kurtz. The daughter is played by Tara Reid. He posts pictures of Tara Reid on the internet because Swoosie Kurtz is overcharging him.
Yeah. What is that?
She was overcharging me, so I decided to A, find her daughter, fuck her, take nudie pictures of her, and create an entire website to smear her mother's name.
Mm-hmm.
Who's got that kind of time? In 1999,
He had to build a website.
he had to build a website or pay someone to build a website for him, which I'm sure he was able to just do this for me. So, yeah. So things like that the Reese character is going to find out and be like, oh, well, but he's changed.
He's
For
changed.
me.
Any woman can change a man.
Yeah. So, I mean, ultimately, he does break down Reese Witherspoon enough to get in bed with her.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to confront Catherine about it, I guess.
Yeah, but it just doesn't quite feel right. This whole bet. So he backs down.
So the thing is, he wins the bet. He has sex with Annette, which means since he won the bet, his prize is to go and bone Catherine. But yeah, then when he goes to confront her about it and tell her about it, we get one of the best scenes in the movie.
Oh, we're going to be using this as a sound cue.
Yeah.
We're going to be playing it a lot.
So I assume you've come here to make arrangements.
Some other time.
Excuse me?
I'm not in the mood.
I want to fuck.
And I don't.
Yeah. I made sure to.
Annette really did a number on him.
I want to fuck.
Yeah, so that's the thing. It's like after all that, he's just like, no, you know what? I don't want you anymore.
I'm a changed man.
I'm a changed man.
But it kind of goes into this whole thing with Catherine's character that apparently she was kind of in on it, that she knew that he would fall for her.
Yeah.
And that sort of breaks character for Sebastian.
Yeah.
So now he's just a fraud to who he actually is as a person.
Yeah.
Is that kind of how you read that scene?
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some weird dialogue.
Yeah, it gets crazy when everything starts unraveling. But, I mean, the big takeaway.
I want to fuck.
I mean, she's ready for it. As she's, like, wearing this, like, negligee, and I think that she throws a champagne glass at the wall when he leaves.
Yeah. I mean, again, their parents are gone. They're off, like... in a hot tub with like Roger Moore. And
did you notice that Catherine's bedroom, they styled Blair's bedroom in Gossip Girl to pretty much look like that set?
Oh, I never really watched Gossip Girl a lot, but I did notice that she had a framed 8x10 of her own face.
Oh, I love that.
on her dresser drawer or something. It was a close up.
Yeah, it's like
it wasn't even just like a portrait.
It was like a headshot.
It was like a headshot in a frame in her own room. Yeah, sure. Her bedroom is very interesting. It's very like it's very like Versailles. It's like blue, these like royal blues, and her bed is like situated in the wall.
Yeah.
Her bed is like a cutout in the back wall of the room.
And apparently you can hide people under the drawer.
There's a drawer
too.
underneath her bed big enough for a grown person to lay in and hide. I'm sure that was a architectural point that she asked for.
So we should probably just skip right to the confrontation with Ronald. Because Sarah Michelle Gellar is so pissed that sort of, I guess, trying to ruin Sebastian's character and to get him back, she tells Ronald, the celloist, that A, he hit her, and B,
that
he slept with Cecile.
Yes.
And there's that whole it's like he jumps him in like Central Park, and they like Reese Witherspoon like runs out to break them up, and then she ends up in the street.
Yeah, it's a very like it's
the type of blocking that you only see in movies.
All these pieces fall into place for this like perfect little ending to happen.
Which that's going back to the original material, because that does happen, and I believe it's a duel.
Yeah, of course, it would have to be a duel.
Shot in a duel.
Yeah, it'd have to be a duel. But they get into a fist fight in the middle of the street on the sidewalk outside of Central Park. And yeah, Reese Witherspoon tries to break it up. It gets thrown into oncoming traffic. A cab is coming. Of course, he doesn't see her, and Ryan Phillippe pushes her out of the way just in time, gets hit by this car, and has like a tiny scratch on his forehead.
Tiny little scratch.
Just a little nick. But drops dead immediately afterwards. And kind of now it's the end. Oh, but before that, we have to talk about the journal.
Oh, the burn book, Mean Girls journal that he keeps writing in.
Yeah.
It's always close to him. You always see it. So
it's so
set
stupid.
up super early. And I love when you get a close-up of the journal. Oh, yeah, because Sebastian gives Annette the journal as like, these are all of my secrets. I'm laying it all out on the table.
Yeah.
I want you to know everything about me.
Yes. That's his way of getting her back after he kind of like messes it up.
Which, wouldn't you just hate him more?
By reading the burn book?
All of the awful things that he's done to people?
Yes. But we have to talk about the book itself. It's this leather-bound journal, and when we do see entries in it, he has like photographs that he'll like tape to the inside and then draw like borders around it.
He'll
and
get like
write
glue
little like epithets. Yeah, it's
and,
like a scrapbook.
Make little scrapbook elements of it.
They tried to make it super cool and artistic looking, but it just looks like a 14-year-old girl's
comes off
like
super cheesy,
like yearbook. Yeah, it's super corny. And the thing is, he'll write like little epithets like around the picture, like slut, coke problem, and you're just like, wow, those are the most like unimaginative.
I just picture Sebastian's character just lying on his bed with like his feet up in the air.
Yeah.
Like his hands under his chin. It's like scribbling in his little notebook.
Yeah, and he just yeah, it's pretty stupid. And yeah, on the Catherine page, it says bitch like 50 times. It's like bitch in like big block letters, and then he writes like bitch, like welcome to my bitch world, and she's a bitch, and coke problem, and it's just like, okay, this is how he really feels about Catherine. So to just lay all his cards on the table with Annette after a big misstep that he had, saying, lying to her and saying that it was all a game. He makes a copy of it, and he gives it to her. Does he send her the original?
I think he sends her the original.
The original. He just gives her. He wraps up his journal and gives it to her, and it becomes a major plot point at the end of the movie after Sebastian's death.
So we should talk about the ending of the movie.
Yeah,
it takes place at the funeral.
It's the funeral, but it's also the first day of school.
It almost looks like the first day of school. That's what I was thinking. It was like an assembly that there's a memorial for Sebastian.
Yeah, because the headmaster is like, oh, I didn't want to start the school year like this.
But I think it's supposed to be the funeral, though.
Yeah. But that all the students are invited to.
So there's a little Reese and Sarah's only scene together is how it begins.
Yeah.
The only scene they have in the entire movie together. And there's kind of a little, like... How would you describe the scene between them? It's like, oh, Sebastian, did you know him? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird scene.
There's a callback to the whenever I'm feeling lonely, I turn to God and He
Jesus.
gets me through it.
Yeah,
which is a little note from the journal.
Yeah,
and that's what she says before she when she pats her little cross.
Yeah. And Sarah Michelle Gellar ultimately is kind of giving a eulogy.
Yeah.
And
she sees people start to run in and wave people outside. And then it just turns kind of crazy. Like, everyone starts to be like, oh, my God, what's going on?
Oh, my God, it's nuts because one random girl runs in holding this bundle of papers, this book, and she just whispers to someone on the edge of the aisle, and, like, everybody just starts standing up and leaving. It's like, what is she telling them?
Yeah.
Like, what is she telling them that everybody's like, well, fuck this.
Well, fuck me, I gotta go. And
leave.
also, just kind of during this whole hatched plan with Annette and Selma Blair's character's in on it, that they're doing this in the middle of the funeral.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, regardless, it's a funeral.
Well, they've got to ruin Catherine by whatever means necessary.
As, like, their parents are just sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, after mourning the loss of their shithead son.
Yeah, seriously. But ultimately what has happened is Annette has photocopied the journal, made it into like a booklet, and her and Cecile are passing it out to all the students. And the very first thing you see when you open it is Sarah Michelle Gellar's page, is Catherine's page, that says just bitch and cokehead, and she is just ruined.
And are this many students that invested in them?
That
they're reading it cover to cover in like 2 minutes?
Yeah. And it takes a moment. Catherine goes outside. Everyone is all the students are just standing right outside the chapel holding a copy, and they all look up at the same time, and they see Catherine there.
Play to this song, which they had to shell out some major cash for this song.
Well, the Verve had to shell out some major cash for this song because they don't own the music.
But I mean, even how it plays.
So you're saying the production had to pay a lot for it?
Yeah.
But the band themselves did not make any of that money. All that money went to the Rolling Stones.
Because it's a sample of a Rolling Stone song.
It's not even a sample. It's a cover.
It's a cover?
Yeah.
Okay. I
just
thought it was a sample of the main.
No. The real song is played by Rolling Stones on guitar. This is they got an orchestra to play this. The Verve did.
Yeah.
But it's using the music that the Rolling Stones wrote.
But I read in EW that the director had his heart set on this song. He found out how much it was, which it was close to $1 million to license it.
Sure.
They tried to find other songs, but nothing cut together like this song.
Yeah.
So they just had to eat it.
It works. It feels like a piece of score.
And also, it probably helped them sell a lot of soundtracks.
Oh, I'm sure.
Too. So it all worked out in the long run.
Yeah. So the thing is, Catherine is staring at everyone, and everyone's looking at her, and they're just like mouthing, like, fuck you. As she walks out there, why? I don't get it. Maybe it details every bad thing she did to every student, but wouldn't they know that at this point? Wouldn't you know that Catherine, like, their big thing when they fuck people over is kind of taking credit for it. So I don't know why the student body is so shocked. Also, a Manhattan Upper West Side prep school, and they're just like, coke?
Shocked and appalled
cocaine?
when they see the coke reveal.
At our school? Just like clutching their pearls.
Bunch of squares.
And eventually the adults make it outside and grab her giant, like, huge, like, rosary with the cross in the end of it, and immediately pull out coke. Coke falls all over the floor.
Covers
everyone. And then the adults just walk away. They look at her like, Catherine, and then they leave. And then they leave. They leave her standing there. Doesn't make any sense. Then, my biggest thing is that it cuts to the very last scene of the movie, Annette driving away in this, like, $90,000 car.
She got the car.
How did Annette get the car?
Wouldn't the parents be like, yeah, so we paid a lot of money for this car. Sorry, I know that you've been dating him for maybe 2 weeks, but...
That is a very expensive car.
I don't know if you can keep the car.
No.
And I also love that...
Does Sebastian have a will?
I also love that they had in the B-roll, you can tell that they just, wherever they could shoot this, they had to do it in the LA desert. In, like, the Southern California desert, so you can fully see tumbleweeds and sand in the background.
Yeah, like, where in New York is this, where she's driving this car away?
Driving down the bridge.
Yeah.
Which, I get, I mean, that's just movies, of just how they shot it.
Yeah.
They couldn't do it on a busy street.
Yeah. But yeah, I always had trouble with Reese Witherspoon getting the car at the end of the movie. And and Catherine is ruined. She's no longer going to be the like head bitch on campus. But I guess she brought it on herself.
I guess that it's hinted that she's expelled.
I guess.
I take it from all of this.
I guess. That's unclear as well.
There's no scene where they just throw stones at her and they just like follow her down the street as
burn her.
Burn her. Just get a stake and they just burn her right there.
Yeah, but if you haven't seen Cruel Intentions, I don't know how you haven't, because it's been 20 years. But this movie,
I mean, you have to give the movie credit that it takes a lot of big swings at what you kind of think is a teen movie. It's not squeaky clean.
No,
these are teenagers that act like adults. And there's nothing cooler as a 16-year-old when going to the movie that you see people that you kind of want to be you.
Yeah.
You kind of want to project yourself that you're this powerful.
Yeah, it's aspirational. You know, Upper West Side New York society, Central Park views in these apartments, beautiful classic cars, you know, like these great clothes. Yeah, the styling on Ryan Phillippe, I remember at the time, like just being like, oh my God, like that's so cool. Like, yeah.
And it's interesting when you look at the careers of everyone in this movie. Mm-hmm. I don't think Selma Blair had really done a lot of big things before this movie. She had a bit part in Can't Hardly Wait.
She had her sitcom, Zoe Duncan, Jack and Jane, that lasted one season that I really liked.
That was probably around like 2000, 2001 or so.
Yeah, it was earlier than that.
And Sarah Michelle Gellar, I mean, Buffy, while it was a pretty big hit for the WB, it hadn't quite gotten to its full stride yet. She was looking to do more movie roles. This was a very different type of role for her that I'm sure that a lot of her management and stuff probably discouraged her from.
Yeah.
Because it was so different from Buffy Summers.
Yeah, totally.
Reese Witherspoon had a pretty good career. I think Election had just come out.
Mm-hmm.
So she was being talked about a lot. She did Pleasantville.
Yeah.
Which that kind of put her on my radar.
Yeah.
She did Freeway. So this was her big teen movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool that both her and Ryan were able to do their teen movie as a couple.
Yeah.
And then they just slipped right out. And they didn't really do anything else like that after.
Yeah.
Too. So they weren't typecast or pigeonholed from it.
Yeah.
Too.
I mean, Reese did Legally Blonde, but I think that movie is a little bit more elevated as far as like teen movie fare. It's no Can't Hardly Wait.
And that appeals to everyone.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Exactly.
Plus,
it's college.
It's also kind of interesting. You were texting me yesterday. I'm surprised that you were saying, I'm surprised Sarah Michelle Gellar didn't have a bigger movie career.
Yeah.
But yeah, her movies didn't always work.
No.
And this was the same year Simply Irresistible came out, which is terrible.
Oh, boy.
And right after she left Buffy in 2003 to have a bigger movie career, and nothing really stuck.
Yeah.
Like she did The Grudge, which was a pretty decent hit for her.
Yeah.
She did a couple of B movies that nobody remembers but me, like The Return and Harvard Man that nobody remembers. She did the Scooby-Doo movies, and then she just sort of, she didn't really do anything big after that. And since then, she's had a few TV projects that have only lasted about one season.
Mm-hmm.
But I think she knocks this role out of the park, though. I think she's really funny in it.
No, she is. She's really good.
She plays the comedy elements with a lot of great timing.
It's kind of a quintessential Sarah Michelle Gellar part, even though it is very different than Buffy. But I think it's what a lot of people remember her for. And I mean, yeah, her movie career didn't exactly blossom the way Reese Witherspoon's did, but I think she really carved out a career for herself. And I mean, let's be honest, Sarah Michelle Gellar is doing just fine.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And what's really great
fine
about the movie is that even in 2019, it's still talked about.
There's
still internet memes and GIFs shared about it. There's still lines that are quoted, so it lives on.
Yeah.
And it's really beloved from... I know that people that were going to high school in the early 2000s have a real fondness for it, too.
Uh-huh.
That this was a movie that we had to, like... either get snuck into in the movie theater. I did not see this in the theater until yesterday. Or you had to like secretly rent it.
Yeah.
And then I just ended up buying it. And I had it on VHS. I have the DVD of it.
Yeah.
And if they do a special edition Blu-ray, I'll probably buy it. So you don't remember when you first saw this? Do you know how old you were?
I mean, if it was 1999, then I was 21.
So just college age.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if it was summer of 9. I don't remember what season it came out, but
It was March. It was this month.
Oh, it was March, and
it was March 5th, 1999. It opened with Analyze That. No, Analyze This. And it was an okay movie. It made back its budget.
Yeah.
It was kind of a sleeper hit. Didn't make a lot of money, but it did make money for them to greenlight a pilot. No, the pilot was not greenlit. They shot the pilot, Cruel Intentions 2, with Amy Adams.
It wasn't Cruel Intentions 2. The pilot was Cruel Intentions, Manchester Prep.
Manchester Prep. And when Fox passed on the pilot, they just made it Cruel Intentions 2.
They repackaged it.
And they repackaged it for home
direct-to-DVD movie, yeah.
Early work of Amy Adams, and I've been following Amy Adams' career since 1999. And that's where that actress had been huffing it.
Yeah.
Trying to get playing the role of Catherine on Cruel Intentions, Manchester Prep. And I have seen it, and it is not good.
Oh, you watched the entire thing?
I have seen it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's pretty bad.
Awesome.
I don't remember anything from it.
The trailer looked terrible. Got a bunch of, aside from Amy Adams, like the character, the guy they got to play the Sebastian character, what a bore.
And we should also talk about, 2 years ago, NBC did another pilot that's written by the director of Cruel Intentions, Roger Kumble, and he wrote it and he directed it, and they got Sarah Michelle Gellar to come back as Catherine.
What was it?
I think it's sort of like a Gossip Girl type of show, and it's about the children of Annette and Sebastian.
What?
Of Annette,
this
think.
Is the first time
I would say Annette and Sebastian, but they don't. Obviously, he doesn't. I mean, maybe he knocks her up. But yeah. But they just did the pilot, and they passed on it.
Interesting.
And the episode has not seen the light of day so far.
Wow. That's very interesting. I'll have to look that up. I had no idea about that. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies. There was beautiful boys in it. There's girls kissing each other.
It has a big gay following. For
yeah, it has
reasons.
that. I mean,
you get that shot of Ryan Phillippe's buns.
Yeah,
which
SMG is playing such a cunty bitch character that you just want to be her.
It's so camp.
Yeah, it's super over the top and campy, and it's definitely falls under the category of movies that made us gay. Movies that we watched over and over again. I watched it a lot when it was on just reruns on cable, and I'm glad we saw it in the theater last night. Seeing it on the big screen was very interesting. Forced to sit down and watch it without a second screen, without being able to look at our phone. But yeah, there was only one other person in the theater besides us.
I tried to look up box office numbers of how it did this weekend, but I couldn't find anything.
Oh yeah, I don't think we'll be able to see that for a while. But yeah, that was kind of awesome.
Yeah. Well,
and do you have any final thoughts on Cruel Intentions?
Final thoughts. I think that you should probably play Catherine's exit cue.
I want to fuck.
There you go.
If there's one takeaway from this movie, it's that you can just think about that whenever you need a laugh.
I want to fuck.
Wow, that was an amazing movie, amazing ride. You have anything else?
I think I'm good.
All right, sounds good. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back shortly with another movie that made us gay.
Bye.
Bye.